Okay, so we're diving into something you've been curious about.
Hmm.
And, it's really cool. It's about journaling for anxiety relief.
Hmm.
And you specifically mentioned the Lestallion Journal, right? So,
Yeah.
and we know you like things to be kind of straightforward and effective. So we're going to really try to understand how journaling, and particularly with a journal that is actually designed for this purpose, like the Lestallion Journal,
Hmm.
can help with anxiety relief without adding more to your plate.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at some info about the Lestallion journals too, just to kind of get a sense of what makes them so useful for this.
Right.
And, you're already familiar with Lestallion, right? You've heard of them.
Yeah.
They're focused on anxiety relief through journaling.
Hmm.
So let's just get right into it. How does this actually work?
I think one of the most fascinating things is that journaling really gets to the root of how we can engage with our thoughts and emotions.
Mm-hmm.
When anxiety hits, it can feel like this huge wave, and it's tough to understand it or process it. And journaling offers the structured way to slow down.
Okay.
And so by writing things out, you're basically taking those abstract feelings and making them something you can see.
Right.
It's like having a conversation with yourself, but you have the space to really listen and think.
Yeah, that makes sense. Getting it
Okay.
out of your head
Exactly.
and onto paper
Yeah.
so you can actually look at it.
Yeah.
And it's not just about letting it out. It's about understanding it more. Right.
Absolutely.
Connecting the dots,
Mm.
seeing the patterns in what triggers your anxiety that you might not have realized before,
Mm.
and even starting to challenge those negative thought spirals that can happen.
Yes. And, if we look at it from the perspective of psychology, this act of writing is very much aligned with things like cognitive behavioral therapy.
Okay, interesting.
So, for example, when you write down a fear, you create this distance between yourself and the thought.
Uh-huh.
And that allows you to look at it more rationally. You start to question it.
Well, that's interesting.
Is this really true? And what evidence do I have to support it or go against it?
So it's moving from feeling the anxiety to actually thinking about it.
Exactly.
Now, we know that our listener is interested in the Lestallion Journal.
Yes.
And some people might not be as familiar with it, but Lestallion makes these journals that are specifically made to help with anxiety relief.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the things about these journals that really stand out when we're talking about dealing with anxiety?
What I find really smart about the way they've designed the Lestallion Journal is that even the smallest details work together to make journaling more supportive and something you'll actually stick with.
Okay.
For example, they use this premium 120 GSM wood-free paper.
Okay.
And it's not just about feeling fancy. When your pen glides smoothly without any scratching or bleeding, it actually makes you want to write more.
Oh, I see.
Because when you're already dealing with anxiety, even small frustrations can make you less likely to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's you're already feeling overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing you need is a pen that's scratching.
Exactly.
Okay, so smooth writing is a big plus.
Yes, definitely.
What about that cover, though? It's this durable faux leather.
Right?
It sounds nice, but how does that help with anxiety?
Well, think about it this way. That durable cover gives you a sense of safety and your thoughts are contained.
Yeah.
It's like the journal becomes your own personal safe space. This special place just for your thoughts.
I like that.
It's something you can hold and carry knowing that it's holding your journey and reflections.
Yeah.
It becomes comforting in a way that a flimsy notebook just wouldn't.
So the journal itself can be a comfort object.
Yes, exactly.
I know Lestallion journals also have numbered pages and a table of contents.
They do.
How does being organized like that help with managing anxiety?
Those features can be surprisingly helpful for feeling more in control, especially when anxiety can make you feel so chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
With numbered pages, you can easily track your entries and go back to specific thoughts or times when you felt a certain way. When you're feeling overwhelmed, it can be really validating and empowering to look back and see how you've handled similar feelings in the past.
That's so true.
And then the table of contents takes it even further. You can actually categorize your entries by topic or the prompt you used or even the date.
Wow. So organized.
So if you notice something that keeps coming up in your anxiety, you can easily find all the entries related to that and really see the patterns and how you're dealing with it.
So you can actually track your progress.
Exactly. And seeing how you're moving forward can be really motivating and help you understand yourself better.
It's like having a map of your own mind.
That's a great way to put it.
And I noticed they also have dash-lined pages, a back pocket,
Yeah.
a good amount of space to write wider lines in ivory paper.
Yes.
It seems like they've really put a lot of thought into the experience of using it.
Absolutely. They
So
had
those dashed lines, what's the deal with that?
the dashed lines give you this flexibility, which can be really freeing. You can write in a structured way or get more creative with things like sketching or mind mapping,
Oh, cool.
whatever feels best for you at the time. And that back pocket, it's perfect for holding little things that are meaningful to you.
Oh, like what?
Maybe a quote you wrote down, a little photo, anything that makes you feel good.
I love that.
It makes the journal more personal and strengthens your connection to it.
Yeah.
And having plenty of space to write means you never feel limited when you're expressing yourself.
Right. You don't want to run out of room.
Exactly. And those wider lines can make writing feel less cramped, which is especially helpful when you're anxious and it's harder to focus.
Mm-hmm.
And the ivory paper is gentler on your eyes. It reduces strain and makes the whole experience more enjoyable.
So you're more likely to actually spend time journaling.
It's exact.
It seems like all these features are designed to make it easier and more inviting to look inward, which is so important when you're dealing with anxiety.
I think that's a really great way to put it.
Now we know that anxiety can show up in all these different ways, right?
Yes, it does.
Constant worry, that mental clutter that messes with your sleep, even physical symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So how does journaling help with all of that?
Journaling gives you this dedicated outlet for all of that, and it's a non-judgmental space.
What does that mean, non-judgmental?
It means you can write whatever you're feeling without worrying about someone judging you or interrupting you.
Oh, okay.
So when your mind is racing with worries, writing them down can actually slow down those thoughts and help you feel some relief.
Interesting.
And you know that mental clutter you mentioned?
Yeah.
Seeing those swirling thoughts on paper can make them feel less overwhelming.
Oh, okay.
And anxiety can also make you feel really isolated and helpless emotionally.
Yeah.
But your journal is like a constant companion. It's a safe place to process those emotions privately and start to figure out what helps you cope.
So it's like talking to a friend who just listens.
Exactly.
You mentioned before about writing down fears
Mhm.
and how that can help with those negative thought patterns,
Yes.
those cognitive distortions. So how does that work?
By writing them down, you can actually challenge them and see if they're really true.
Right.
For example, if you tend to imagine the worst case scenario, you can write it down.
Uh-huh.
And then when you look at it, you might realize it's actually not very likely to happen.
So you're taking those fears and bringing them out into the open.
Yes,
And that can be scary, but also really powerful.
it can.
Now, we were talking earlier about structured journaling with prompts.
Yes.
How effective is that for anxiety, and what kind of prompts are good to use?
Structured journaling with prompts can be incredibly effective, especially when you're feeling lost or overwhelmed.
Okay.
The prompts act like guides and help you focus on specific things that are relevant to your anxiety.
So what's an example of a good prompt?
Well, one that can be really helpful is what situations or thoughts have triggered your anxiety in the past week?
That makes sense.
It helps you identify those patterns and potential triggers.
Okay.
Another good one is describe a time you successfully got through a challenging situation. What strengths did you use?
So you're focusing on the positive.
Exactly. It encourages you to remember that you're resilient and that you can handle things.
Those are really helpful. Yeah. What are some other examples of prompts that people could try?
Okay, so a prompt like, what small manageable action can I take today to reduce my stress level?
Mm-hmm.
That one focuses on giving you a sense of control. What is one positive thing I experienced today, no matter how small?
Okay.
That one helps you focus on gratitude and looking at things in a more positive light.
I like that.
Then there's what aspects of the situation are within my control and what are outside of my control.
So you're separating what you can change from what you can't.
Exactly. It helps you feel less helpless. And a simple but powerful one is, what am I grateful for right now?
Okay.
This brings you back to the present moment and can be really grounding. And to directly challenge those negative thoughts, you can use a prompt like, how can I reframe this worry into a more balanced or manageable thought?
Okay.
And when you're feeling anxious in the moment, what are 3 things I can control in this very moment can be really helpful.
So many great prompts.
There are so many you can explore.
I love how these prompts really guide you to think about things in a way that can help you make positive changes. It's not just writing down random thoughts.
It is about making it more purposeful.
And going back to the Lestallion Journal with those numbered pages and the table of contents.
Right.
Those would be so useful here because you can track how you respond to these prompts over time and see how your perspective is changing.
Exactly. Imagine using the table of contents to keep track of all your answers to the what are my triggers prompt.
Oh, that's smart.
Over time, you have this record of what sets off your anxiety And you could use that to come up with strategies to manage or avoid those situations.
That's brilliant.
It turns your journal into this valuable resource for understanding yourself and growing.
So it's not just a bunch of random entries. It's like a guidebook.
Exactly.
I wanted to share a story about a friend of mine named Sarah.
Okay.
She was dealing with a lot of anxiety because of work.
Mhm.
She was constantly overwhelmed and couldn't switch off.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
So she started journaling. She didn't have a Lestallion Journal at first, just a regular notebook.
Okay.
And she told me that in the beginning, it felt like she was just writing down all her worries and it wasn't really helping. But then she found some prompts online.
Oh,
Things like, what's one thing I can accomplish today that will make me feel like I'm making progress? And what are 3 things I did well today?
okay.
And she said that slowly she started to shift her focus.
How so?
Instead of just dwelling on what was going wrong, she started acknowledging her achievements and finding small things she could do.
That's a powerful shift.
And over time, she noticed that she was less anxious and felt more in control.
That's wonderful.
It wasn't a quick fix, but it was a gradual change for the better.
That's a great example of how writing things down can really change how you see things and how you feel.
I've noticed that too with people I've worked with, and that when they have a dedicated journal, something that feels special and personal like a Lestallion, they're more likely to stick with it.
That makes sense.
It's like the quality of the journal shows how much you care about taking care of yourself.
Yeah, it becomes a symbol of self-care.
Like having the right tools for any job.
No.
It makes you want to do it.
Exactly.
So for our listener who's ready to get started, what are some practical tips for making journaling for anxiety work? Especially if they're thinking about a Lestallion journal.
Well, first of all, try to set aside a specific time each day, even if it's just for 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay.
Being consistent is really key to making it a habit. And use those anxiety-specific prompts we talked about to guide you, especially when you're not sure what to write about.
Right.
Don't be afraid to experiment with different ways of journaling, too. Some days you might like free writing better. Other days you might prefer bullet points or even doodles or sketches,
Right.
especially with those dashed lines.
And the environment where you journal matters, right?
It does. Find a place that's calm and comfortable, somewhere you feel safe and won't be disturbed.
Makes sense.
And remember to keep track of your progress by looking back at your old entries. The numbered pages and table of contents in the Lestallion Journal make that so much easier.
Yeah.
Pay attention to any themes that come up, any changes in your perspective, and celebrate your growth.
Oh, I love that.
That durable cover also helps with making it a ritual. It becomes something familiar and comforting.
So it's like a little ceremony.
Yes. And don't forget that back pocket. You can put little reminders or inspiring things in there that resonate with you.
Oh, yeah. That's so cool.
It really personalizes it.
What about those times when you just don't know what to write or you forget to journal?
That happens to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
When you're feeling stuck, go back to your list of prompts. Even picking one randomly can get your thoughts flowing.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And keep your journal and a pen somewhere you can see them. That way you'll be reminded to write. You could also set an alarm or try connecting your journaling to something you already do, like having your morning coffee or getting ready for bed.
Those are good tips.
It's all about making it as easy as possible. And if you miss a day, don't worry. Just start again the next day. It's not about being perfect. It's about progress.
That's a good reminder.
And you know, a journal like the Lestallion with those wider lines in the nice paper can make it feel less intimidating to start.
Right, like it's inviting you to write.
Exactly.
So if someone keeps up with journaling, what kind of long-term benefits can they expect for their anxiety?
Over time, consistent journaling can really help you get better at managing your emotions.
How so?
You become more aware of your feelings and learn healthier ways to process and respond to them.
Mm-hmm.
It also helps you understand yourself better. You start to see your triggers, your coping mechanisms, and your thought patterns more clearly.
And it makes you more resilient, right?
Yes, by writing about your challenges and how you overcame them, you create this tangible record of your own strength.
Like a testament to your strength.
Yes, and you can always look back on it when times are tough. The journal really becomes this trusted friend and a powerful tool for self-discovery and well-being.
That's so inspiring.
It is a journey.
Now, if someone's looking for a journal specifically to help them manage their anxiety, they're thinking about something like the Lestallion, what are the key things they should look for?
They should look for a journal with thick, high-quality paper that feels good to write on.
Okay.
Numbered pages and a table of contents are super helpful for staying organized and keeping track of things.
Right.
A sturdy cover that's easy to carry is important too, so you can take it with you.
And lined or dashed.
That's a personal preference. But some people find wider lines easier to write on.
And the Lestallion has all of these features, right?
It does. It really does.
So to sum it up for our listener, if they want to start journaling for anxiety, what should they do?
First things first, choose your journal. And based on what we've talked about today, checking out the Lestallion with its anxiety-focused features would be a great place to start.
Okay.
Then think about what you want to get out of journaling. What are your goals?
Right.
Find a place where you feel comfortable and can really focus. Start small. Just aim for 5 minutes a day to begin with. And most importantly, be patient with yourself and be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Focus on what you're learning, not on judging your writing or how intense your feelings are.
So it sounds like journaling is a really accessible and powerful way to understand and manage anxiety.
It really is.
And the Lestallion Journal, with its thoughtful design, gives you this supportive and structured space to explore yourself.
Yes.
It's all about making self-reflection a regular habit and getting to know yourself better.
Absolutely.
Opening a new page in a journal might seem like a small thing, but it has the potential to change how you deal with anxiety and improve your well-being.
It's the first step on a journey.
And on that note, I'll leave you with this. What could you discover about yourself and your inner strength if you made a space for your thoughts and gave your anxiety a chance to be seen and understood?
That's a powerful question.
Food for thought.
It is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
I'll see you next time.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.